Listen, I had very, very high expectations for Superman. The expectations were so high that I was really scared that I was going to be disappointed by this movie, and somehow they still met my expectations. So obviously I got to watch Superman on Thursday. This is going to be my spoiler-free review. There will be some spoilers at the end of the video, but we're gonna go through the positives and negatives, what I liked and didn't like, and of course we're gonna give a rating to start off the video. There's a lot to talk about with James Gunn, the future of DC, what comes next, the cameos that we got to see. But if you're new here, please subscribe, and if you're watching, please like the video. But without further ado, let's get into this review. Like I said, I had high expectations for this movie, but I still gave it an 8.5 out of 10. I could be talked into a 9. That's how good this movie was. So obviously, if it isn't a 10 out of 10, I have some things that I don't like about the movie. So there's a few negatives, so let's get them out the way first. This isn't really a spoiler unless you completely haven't paid attention to any of the trailers so far. This isn't Clark Kent's first year of being Superman. This is actually his third year of being Superman in Metropolis. And there's a certain point in this movie that you did see in the trailer where the people in the city, the civilians and stuff, they actually turn on Superman and, you know, think that he's like a bad guy, etc. Where you see the clip of the guy throwing the can at Superman, hitting him in the back of the head and stuff like that. But I will say the reason they turned back on him felt super lazy and typical. Just like most comic book adaptations or superhero movies, superhero shows, if they're a hero for a very long time and the civilians and the people that live in the city built a trust to have in Superman, he is our superhero. He saved us multiple times over and over and over again. They showed that he's a good person, etc. And one small thing makes almost the entire city turn on you. I personally think that's really lazy. And you'll see when you watch the movie or have watched the movie, they turn on him so quickly after 3 years of being good. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. It makes sense, but like I said, it just feels super lazy, and I hate that. That's something that I nitpick a lot about these superhero movies, is small details like that. I wish they went another direction or made it more convincing of why Superman should be turned on. And of course, when all this is being like held under and ran by Lex Luthor, who is not even visually looked at as like a good guy in that universe, just strictly like a businessman, I was like, that's all it took for them to turn, you know what I'm saying? So that really bothered me personally. I've seen a lot of people on TikTok saying like, well, this is supposed to represent society, that you could do so much good, but it takes one thing to ruin your reputation and people will turn on you. And I agree, but the circumstances didn't seem high enough for me to fully believe that everybody would turn on him without giving him some type of benefit of the doubt or time to explain. So like I said, that really bothered me, and that was kind of like a big negative in my opinion, and it impacted me a lot more than others. The second negative I have is that we barely got Clark Kent in this movie at all. I remember like 2 scenes where he was in Daily Planet, if that, and one of them was pretty much like an introduction scene, which is rightfully so. A lot of this happened within like 2-3 days, so I guess it makes sense why we didn't see a lot of Clark Kent. But for the times that he was Clark Kent, I thought it was really good. So that's why I was very surprised we didn't get much of it at all. Especially with how good the Daily Planet cast was in this movie. We'll talk about them more later in the positives. But they had a lot of good chemistry with Clark, and I felt like the group was just really good. And we barely got to see Clark in it at all. Now, I'm going to be completely honest, that's literally all my negatives. Outside of those things that really bothered me, this movie was phenomenal. Sometimes the comedy just did not hit for me. I'm not really a huge like comedy person when it comes into superhero movies. And when they are happening, I take them very serious. Like, I really want to laugh. There was some good moments where I did laugh and I thought the jokes were funny, but a lot of them didn't really hit for me. That's just my personal opinion. And then maybe you could say there's like a problem with pacing, but I don't think it was too big of a deal. This movie instantly gets you into what's going on in his life currently and the situation that he's dealing with, and he's instantly like right back into the action. So it's non-stop for the rest of the movie, which I honestly like a lot more. I know some people like to have context in their movies and their origins, and they want them to have like explanation of who he is, kind of like an origin, but that's not what this movie is. This is not an origin story. If you want to know the origin, you need to go read the comics or see other films and stuff, because it's used and used constantly. So I honestly think that's a positive. I think James Gunn did a really good job at that. It gets your attention right away to want to watch the rest of this movie. So with that being said, I have a lot of positives, brother. My goodness. My first positive, this movie had the best Superman moments that I've ever seen. In live action mainly, like I've seen a lot of good superhero moments in Justice League Unlimited and the DC animated movie universe. But this easily has the best Superman moments I've ever seen. He is saving people constantly in the middle of chaos. The whole city and world is being destroyed, and he's just saving everybody he can. I'm not gonna say too much because it's a really cool part of the movie, but he's saving animals, he's saving people, he's catching buildings, he's stopping other creatures like the monster that we've seen in the trailer. He's trying to be in 2 places at once, and he can't yet, which I love. Like, it makes him very limited. Like, a lot of people were complaining that he's not powerful enough and that the real version of Superman would be able to go back and forth between these places and still do both. I like the realism of it, and it makes it feel more grounded in a sense that, like, I know Superman's not grounded at all, but it makes you feel more confident in him that he wants to do more, but he just knows that he can't right now. And that's what I loved about this version of Superman. The fight scenes also were elite. This had real Superman fight scenes in it. Like, not just ramming through 100 different buildings and unaliving people. He had a lot of good moments in this movie that if you're a real Superman fan and understand him as a character, you're just going to adore it. Like, that's how I felt coming out this movie. I went on Letterboxd immediately and was like, this is my Superman. This is something that I wanted to see for a very, very long time. And I think James Gunn, being the director, he really understands the character. And that's what you really need for someone that has that vision of Superman, because they will really take care of him. And I think he did an amazing job at that. And my second positive, listen, I owe James Gunn a complete apology. When Nicholas Hoult got casted as Lex Luthor, I like him as an actor. I even love him as an actor. But I was very nervous because Lex Luthor is a very important villain. His hatred just has to be told very, very well. He has to be aggressive. He has to be very, very evil. He has to be very, very smart. And these things had me a little bit worried with the casting. I was doing everything imaginable to, like, go look for scenes and characters that he played that could really resemble this character. But there were, for the most part, I just couldn't see it, and I was very, very worried. Nicholas Hoult is the best Lex Luthor that I've ever seen. Ever seen. I know Smallville was elite, but if you watch this movie, the hatred that this man had was just insane. Nicholas Hoult put on the best performance. He arguably had the best performance in this movie. Yes, over David Corn Sweat, over Mr. Terrific, Lex Luthor probably had the best performance in terms of an acting perspective in this whole entire movie. For those of y'all that watch it when he was like 1A, 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 like, it was insane. And this movie is not as joyful as you think. Like, Lex did something very, very dark in this movie that caught me completely off guard. I looked to my friend, like, as soon as it happened, I looked next to my friend and I was like, whoa, they really did that in this movie. And that is what you need for Lex Luthor as a character. And I can't express it enough. I owe James Gunn an apology. Nicholas Hoult is a great casting. And I could just imagine how he will be used in the future when he's paired up with another villain and he gets his revenge and stuff like that. Because obviously, you know what I'm saying? But goodness gracious, I owe an apology. Nicholas Hoult was an amazing Lex Luthor. I'm giving him his flowers. I can't express that enough. And another apology I have is for Nathan as Guy Gardner. Listen, I wanted a younger version of Guy Gardner because we did get a younger version of Jon Stewart. We have an older version of Hal. So I was like, I really wanted, like, a younger actor to play Guy Gardner, and I didn't think Nathan was just gonna cut it. But Guy Gardner was also one of the best characters in this movie, brother. I've been completely wrong. He was a really, really good Guy Gardner in his limited scenes that he had, which he had a fair amount, but he wasn't as a big part of this movie as you think. He did something very important in this movie. But him as an actor, I just wasn't really sold on how he was as Guy Gardner, and I hated the suits as well. I still hate the suits they have. Nathan was really, really good as Guy Gardner in this movie. So again, I have to owe James Gunn an apology because I was completely wrong on that, and I'm glad I'm wrong. But casting I was right on is Mr. Terrific. I think he stole this movie. I think he was the second best actor in this movie outside of Lex Luthor. I think Mr. Terrific, he was in this movie a lot, and he had a lot of important roles in this movie, and I knew he would do good because he also played Darwin, and they did him terribly wrong. So I thought this would be a cool way to transfer over to a new company against your quote-unquote rival and have a better role with a more popular character. If anybody watched it, they know that he had such a huge important role in this movie, and he was just so good. People didn't like the tone that he had because he was a lot more serious. He didn't really speak as intelligent as you would want, but I still think it fit his character very, very well for this, like, new era of DC. And again, I think in terms of a long-term plan, it's really good for him, and it's gonna set him up in the future because we already have these characters. We've seen Guy Gardner. We already have Superman. You know Batman's coming, but now we have Mr. Terrific here, Hawkgirl's here. You can see it slowly building for what this team is going to be. And I'm very glad because he's very important in the comics, and Batman really respects him as being intelligent and being a leader for a team. So I'm very interested to see that, but he was also phenomenal in this movie. And again, I'm going down the list. Metamorpho was really, really good. He had a lot of good moments in the scene, and his suit was literally practical. So the CGI just looked... It's insane the amount of effort they put into this movie. He had another key role in this movie as well. Krypto as well stole the movie. Every scene that he was in, he's a bad dog, and the scenes with him were just so cute. There's a scene that you should probably have seen in the trailer as well, where Superman wakes up and Krypto's just laying on his chest, wagging his tail once he sees his eyes open. I think it's just such a cool concept to have him added, because James Gunn didn't have to go this direction. This was obviously a personal thing that he had with his own dog, and he wanted to apply that here. But he was just so good. He was hilarious in this movie. And the entire Daily Planet was good. Like, Jimmy also was amazing in this movie. He had a huge role. Lois was obviously good. We talked about that before. Perry was good. We talked about before. And it hit his like 3-4 lines. I hope we can get like a show or something like that with the Daily Planet in there, and we could have like Clark Kent be featured in it a lot and have him going in and out of the Daily Planet and stuff, and more focus on what they're going through in their lives as being journalists and investigating a lot of things. For the positive, I just put casting from top to bottom. Like, every character was good. There was no misses. In a big enough movie like this where you needed to make a statement as an introduction for your new universe, supporting characters matter. So you have to have good actors for these supporting characters, and they have to really deliver their roles, and they did that extremely well. I have no complaints at all. My next positive is how good this movie looked visually. In the beginning, I'm not gonna lie, I was very scared when the first couple trailers came out. There was a lot of blue, and I've seen a lot of people on Twitter, like, they kind of went like 50-50 on it. They kind of liked the blue, and then they eventually took the trailers away and ended up taking out the blue, and it made it a little bit more dull in certain scenes. But their sole focus was on like the brighter colors of Superman, obviously red and blue and gold. And Daily Planet is known for having a gold aura, and I think they did a really, really good job at that on film. It looks so much better on film. The CGI, I really had no complaints. It's very James Gunny. The CGI isn't going to be the most ultra realistic, but it's really good enough for it to be somewhat, I guess, believable for their universe and for their standards. And it didn't look bad at all. There was no bad CGI in this. The Superman CGI for the fight scenes looked really good, and for the other characters as well. Mr. Terrific had an insane fight scene with his spheres, and the CGI in it was really, really good. I mean, Krypto's CGI was, like, you couldn't even tell if that was not a real dog or not. Maybe a little bit if you paid really close attention, but the CGI in this movie from top to bottom was really, really good. And for my last positive I'm gonna try to make this make the most sense as possible. They did a really good job at putting the emphasis of what the meaning behind Superman is as a character. Because Superman's one of the most powerful beings in comic book history, right? Like, when you talk about power scaling, when you talk about superpowers and stuff like that, Superman will always be at the top of conversation. But Superman's whole character is about pretty much feeling and being human. Yes, he's an alien. He came from another universe, but he has feelings like us. He goes through things like us. He has a family like us. He's in love like us. They did a really good job at expressing that Superman wants to feel like human, and he's not like what everybody seems. Clark Kent and Lois had good moments, as you can see in the interview. Like, he's expressing himself like he wants to do the right thing every single time. And there was a really good scene at the end of this movie between Superman and Lex Luthor, and he's just expressing himself to him like, look, I feel the exactly same way as you do and as every other human on this planet, so it's not fair for you to judge me the way you're doing it. So at the end of this movie, you can really understand Superman as a character and why he is who he is. And James Gunn and the crew just did such a good job at that, really, like, truly. Spoiler time. So if you made it this far and you don't want to see the spoilers for the movie because you haven't watched it yet, leave, watch the movie, come back, because we need to talk about the situation here. So at the end of the movie, we get to see Supergirl. She's super drunk. She comes into the Solitude and she goes to meet Superman, and she's like, where's my dog? Krypto comes in here. So Superman was basically watching the dog for her, and her and Krypto had this moment where they're like rough playing with each other and stuff, and she leaves. I'm pretty sure that's going to lead right into the Supergirl movie, because Superman Woman of Tomorrow, in the beginning, she's basically drunk and she's going to other planets that have the red suns. So she slowly loses her powers, and she's able to like get drunk and to feel alcohol effects and things like that. So I think that was kind of like the introduction to the beginning and start of her movie. And her movie will take off as soon as she leaves the Solitude, or what she does before she gets there. It's also been confirmed that Lobo is going to be in that movie, so I'm very, very excited to see how he's going to play that role in there, because he is kind of like an anti-hero, but it would be interesting if he's like the standout like villain in there and he's a bounty hunter and he's hunting her down, whatever. I think that would be very interesting. But my main question is like, I wonder where this is going to go moving forward in the DC universe. We know Creature Commandos is going to get a season 2. We know the Lanterns with Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart is going to be a show. And then we know that Batman is going to be casted and he's going to get his Brave and the Bold movie as well. But Damian is going to be in that timeline. So it makes me really wonder like if we're going to get an older version of Batman. How are all these characters going to tie in together, right? I want to know what's the end goal for like James Gunn's DCU. Is it going to be something like, I hate to compare it to Marvel, but something like Endgame, where Darkseid is the head villain that you need the Justice League to like help go up against and stuff? I think that would still be cool. Is Doomsday one of the most popular, you know, Superman villains or whatever? Is that going to be like the end goal, the most powerful villain that they face? Like, I truly just want to know like what's the end goal and how are we going to get all of these characters, you know, together at once? Because we're in spoilers, I also want to say I thought Ultraman was really, really cool. I think they did a good job at hiding Ultraman. I could see why obviously they gave him the mask and the different color suit, because if they gave him like the red and yellow Superman suit, but just with instead of the symbol as a S of hope, it would be a U, everybody would immediately know like, okay, this is just a Superman clone or whatever. You went the Ultraman route, but I did think that was really cool, and I thought it was a cool reveal at the end. And just like the connection with Lex Luthor controlling him, I just thought all of that was just great. As you can see, everything I listed, that's why I gave this movie an 8.5 out of 10. Like, I mean, on Letterboxd and stuff, I gave it a 4 just because of like in the moment, I was like, this is my version of Superman. This is something that I wanted to see for a very, very long time, and I officially got it finally. And there's nothing more out of a Superman movie that I wanted than what we got. So I'm more than happy. If you watched this movie as well, can you please comment and give it a rating? I want to know what you guys think. I want to know your negatives and positives, what your thoughts on were for this movie, if you really, really liked it or not, if you just thought it was okay, if you thought it was somehow terrible. Once again, thank you guys for watching, but I'll catch y'all in the next video.